Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Betting Leaderboard. I'm your host, mma-guru. UFC Mexico City recently wrapped up, so we're going to do our usual and recap the fights and see how the results matched up with our handicappers' predictions. We'll see what it means for their win-loss record, their positions, and their dollar totals. And then we'll look at our bets with the B.L.A.B.S system, the Betting Leaderboard's auto bet system. Conveniently, B.L.A.B.S can also stand for Betting Leaderboard's absolute bullshit. With the way the last few weeks have gone, it's becoming more and more appropriate. Before we get into the fight reviews, I've been noticing some new faces around here, and so I just wanted to take the time to say I really appreciate you joining us, and I really appreciate all my subs. I know I'm not doing anything monumental here, but I do take a lot of pride in my work, and it's rewarding to know that people are enjoying it. So thank you very much. Since we do have some new faces, we should probably do a little channel review real quick. Basically, I like watching the fights every Saturday, and I started watching a couple of the handicappers from time to time just to get more information on the fights and the fighters before Saturday came along. And I found many of them quite enjoyable. They're funny and do their research for the breakdowns and stuff. So I thought, why not gather a few of them together and track them, see how they do against each other, and see if we can do something by looking at their choices and making bets based on some parameters that we come up with. So that's the gist of it. Fun is the basic intention. So how about I stop talking and let's get to some of it. The opening fight on the prelims was between Eric Silva, Mohamed Naimov. This was an instant classic. This is the kind of matchup and fight that you dream about, that you tell your kids about later, that makes you want to pay for a year of ESPN Plus in advance. It is a privilege to see such mastery. Wait, no, that wasn't this fight. This fight was stupid. I haven't talked about this before, and I'm going to try to keep my rants to a minimum this time, since we went almost 40 minutes with the last recap video. But I gotta say, I find it pretty appalling that an organization worth billions cannot make a safe combat area for its fighters.
I'm appalled, sir. You're appalled.
What is with this little trench gully thing that happens all the way around the octagon where the fence meets the canvas? I've seen a million guys almost turn their ankle. Haven't said anything because it hasn't amounted to a huge fight-changing deal recently. But we got it today. Very first fight, 45 seconds in, step back along the fence, and fight's over. Ligament damage. And if you watch, I believe Brandon Moreno in the main event almost wrecked his ankle twice along the fence. So this is just irresponsible. Can't come up with a way where it's flat all the way to the fencing. It's like a football field with potholes. Do better, Dana. So our first fight with more than one significant strike landed was the second contest between Victor Altamirano and Felipe Dos Santos. I thought Altamirano did enough to get the win for sure. Ended up with 9 takedowns. His leveraging ability to use someone's weight against him and find those leverage points to get people down is really something to see. But it wasn't just down on the ground. He leg kicked Dos Santos to the mat a couple times. Dos Santos was missing a lot early. Swinging, he seems to overswing a little bit, and he was hitting Altamirano with his forearms a little. He was getting up quick after he got taken down, so there wasn't a whole lot of ground damage. By the end of the second, he had begun to find his range. Started swinging some elbows, took the back of Altamirano. So they both had their good points, definitely. But I just think the standing game was close enough that anything really that tipped it one way or another should have tipped it one way or another. And all those takedowns, I can't believe didn't add up to enough to get him the victory, especially in Mexico. You don't want to count on the hometown fervor influencing the judges and stuff, but I was surprised that this close of a fight went the way of the non-Mexican fighter. But felt bad for Altamirano, but it worked out better for our handicappers, who I think were almost all on Dos Santos. I believe they said Altamirano was a minus 2,100 favorite on the betting lines as the fight ended, and still Dos Santos gets the split decision. Pretty crazy. The next fight up was Ronaldo Rodriguez versus Denise Bondar. Bondar? I think Bondar. I thought Bondar was sharper to start. He repeatedly used a right hand landing to the face to set up the takedown. His spinning elbows were pretty badass. Looked like he was getting the better of Rodriguez. But Rodriguez is no spring chicken. Even at 24 years old, he's already had 40 fights. So he wasn't fazed by anything. He had a reversal on the ground. He was landing with strong shots. And unbelievably, with 2 seconds to go in the round, he got Bondar to tap to his rear naked choke. Really pretty impressive. Ronaldo Rodriguez with the second round sub for the win. Next up were lightweights Claudio Poyas versus Fares Ziam. Ziam was strong. He had nice ground and pound. Way outstruck Poyas. Actually 31-4 in significant strikes. Poyas seemed able to take him right down. Did fine with controlling him, but hardly any damage. No real sub attempts. So in the end, Ziam got a split decision victory and seemed like the right decision. Next up were Edgar Chairez and Daniel Lacerda. The rescheduling of the premature stoppage fight that they had a few months back. They both missed weight, which is pretty pathetic. Was it Chairez by 5 pounds? One of them by 5 pounds. Anyway, they both were doing some pretty good hard kicking, but before hardly any time went by, Chairez locked up a triangle for the quick submission victory. I did want to take just a second to shout out this translator guy. Is he not the most enthusiastic, sincere person you've seen in a long time? He's almost as excited as the fighters are for them to win. His eye contact is laser focused when he's watching and listening to the people that he's going to translate for. I think he always brings his best game. Just really impressed by him. So, thumbs up. I should probably look up his name so I can actually use it, but not now. Thank you for indulging me, and now we'll get back to the fights. Next up were flyweights Jesus Aguilar and Mateus Mendonça. Man, Aguilar couldn't really stay off his back. He'd get out of it, but he had a big punch that wobbled Mendonça and then went straight into the clinch looking to grapple. I've seen that out of multiple fighters, and I just don't get it. You see him wobbled and damaged, just pound him repeatedly and see if you can get him out of there. Mendonça had a 50% takedown percentage and was able to get him down about 4 times. Control time, but not much damage. They both made it to the end of the 3 rounds, and they gave it to Jesus. Split decision victory. That'll move us to a bantamweight bout between Christian Quinones, Raoni Barcelos. They each had a couple takedowns. The total strikes were pretty much the same. The difference was more of Barcelos' shots were significant. Barcelos was rocking calf kicks, punches to the face, throwing big right hands, and also cheating blatantly. 2 fence grabs that threatened to pull the walls down. And then the knee to the grounded opponent, I thought was a lot closer to a foul than, let's say, Dominic Cruz, who repeatedly said that the blow hit him in the chest, and I could have swore that it hit him neck, maybe bottom of chin. Either way, it was very close to being a foul. Quinones was lunging with his punches a bit to start. Seemed like about round 2 he found himself a little bit, got a nice uppercut and some overhands in there. He had good ground control. Neither of them seemed to concentrate on what worked. Jabs, kicks, those things were getting through. Neither one of them were guarding their heads. They both had their arms down by their abdomens, so I thought there were openings that they both ignored, quite frankly. Anyway, Barcelos ended up getting the rear naked choke submission in the 3rd round for the victory. Lightweights Manuel Torres and Chris Duncan were up next. This one didn't last long. Duncan started out right away with a punch that wobbled Torres. Looked like he was going to be controlling the show, but just for a moment, Torres is crafty. Before Duncan knew what was going on, he was in a rear naked choke and hating life and tapping. Victory, rear naked choke, sub, within 2 minutes of the 1st round. At this point, they showed the Brandons walking in, and I got to tell you, it's hard not to notice that Royval looked like he just found out his family burned to death in a fire, and Moreno came bopping in with his girl, little dancey, little singy. Not that that makes a difference, but I thought it was a little bit of foreshadowing for sure. That brings us to the only ladies fight of the evening between Yasmin Haragi and Sam Hughes. Hughes was getting in some good low kicks. She took some shots for takedowns, but they were like half efforts. I don't think she thought she'd be successful. She's got great heart, but she seemed to be just outmatched in almost every area. Haragi's really good. Quick hands, throw strikes in bunches, leg kicks and punches together. Whenever they'd clinch, she'd always get a punch or a kick in on the break. And during the clinch, she's making Hughes pay with knees and punches. Just significant strike after significant strike, and it led to a unanimous decision that surprised no one. We should keep our eye on this girl. The featured fight of the night was craziness. It earned fight of the night, and with good reason. Daniel Zellhuber took on Francisco Prado in just a battle. There was no waiting on this one. They came out swinging. Prado is strong. His right hand is a beast. He's got good kicks, even a beautiful high kick, as short as he is. But as the fight went on, he just ended up getting battered by Zellhuber. Kicks, punches that found the chin, jabs that split eyes open, knees, you name it, he was throwing it. More and more as the fight went on, it just became Zellhuber's show, just piecing him up. But there was no quitting Prado, that's for sure. He went down banging.
Don't want to do it.
Unanimous decision, Daniel Zellhuber. The co-main event with Brian Ortega and Yair Rodriguez didn't disappoint. They were both swinging early, but Rodriguez was really rolling. He was blasting on Ortega, knocked him on his ass multiple times, had him bloodied and beaten. But if Ortega's not dead, he usually keeps on coming. So the 2nd round was his. He was all over Yair, cut him, and finished him off in the 3rd round with a sub. Crazy. Dana agreed and gave Ortega the last performance of the night bonus for $50,000. It was interesting. I'm not sure what went on with the stoppage there. It looked like Ortega took a couple extra seconds to release his choke, and Goddard wasn't very happy about it. Ortega seemed to be completely surprised, so I don't know if he was just a little dazed or didn't hear Goddard say stop or what, but obviously he was getting tapped directly, so there's no reason to keep the hold. It looked like they were still trying to work through it when they were supposed to be raising his hand for winning the fight, which didn't happen, and I haven't seen that before. I couldn't tell if it maybe looked like Ortega was telling Goddard not to touch him or something. Very strange. The main event was pretty great too. Both these guys are serious about trying to get that win. Brandon Moreno looked strong when he punched. Mostly he landed, and he's the definitely stronger of the two. His punches were jarring, whereas Royval was throwing quantity for sure. Remember my rant from the first fight? I said I was sure that the fence gap got Moreno too. Well, let's take a look. He could have broke his ankle right there just as easy as anything else. That was in the first round and could have ended the main event. So seems a little silly. Probably someone should get on that. Royval keeps that low guard and leaves his head open, which Moreno was taking advantage of. He was popping him in the face repeatedly. I liked watching Royval on the ground. Man, that guy never stops moving. He can scramble like eggs, baby. Both of their kicks were great. The action was high. Moreno's combos ending with kicks and his overhand right. Wow. But Royval just kept on throwing shots and throwing shots and throwing shots. Both of them were wearing it a little by the end there. And we ended up with a split decision, Royval. Can we just talk about Herb Dean for a second? I mean, who shit in his sherbert? Is that even a saying? Well, if it's not, I'm coining it right now. Did his wife just leave him? Did his dog die? What happened? He was yelling at these guys to engage about a minute and a half into a 5-round fight. Royval ended up with 400 plus shots or something. Who is he to act like these guys weren't engaging or weren't going to engage? And then it was even worse with the clinch against the fence. He gave him like 3 seconds. It's ridiculous. There needs to be some kind of standard because no one gives that little amount of time before they start harping on him. And he acts like a casual, like work can't be going on even though there's not a lot of movement. They're straining, they're fighting for position. But in this case, they were actually fighting. They were jostling, they were kneeing each other. Royval was working on Moreno's grip and trying to turn into him. I mean, what the hell? I think old Herb had a bet on the inside the distance. All right, those were the fights. Now, the good stuff. Let's find out how our guys did. Now that we've seen who picked whom, let's see how it affects their overall numbers. We'll start things off with the MMA experts. They had their best week of the contest so far and led the field, going 9-3 to improve to 42-29 overall for a 59% winning percentage. He added $184.51 to his former total for a new total of minus 619.64. Excellent week. We Want Picks is next up. They went 8-4 to improve to 44-27, a 62% winning percentage. Angelo made the superhero call, the only one to pick Ortega, and it came through. But overall, he gave away another 1972 to bring his new total to a minus 376.27. DFS by the numbers went 8-4 as well, missing on ZM, Barcelos, as well as Ortega, and Royval, which everybody but We Want Picks missed both of those. The 8-4 week brings his record to 45-26, a 63% winning percentage. He added $27.37 to his former total for a new total of $172.52. Sherdog proved they're human this week, going 6-6. That makes the record 45-26 for him with a 63% winning percentage, same as DFS by the numbers. His total dollars took a hit, losing $409.96 off his former total to bring a new total to minus $205.50. And that's looking like that's going to cost him second place. For now, anyway. Last but not least is Guru, who came into the week in first place. He was a little sluggish this week at 7-5, bringing his overall record to 46-25, still the best of the guys. But he lost $228.55 off his total for a new total of $133.79. Not so sure that's good enough for first anymore, but we'll have to see. Look for any new positions coming up shortly in the outro. So I guess that's about it. Thanks for What was that? You saying I'm forgetting something?
What about you, Dad?
Well, I just figured, we've all had a long day and no one wants to wait around to hear how I did with my silly system.
Fuck you. What about you?
Hey, son, I appreciate the help, but I'm doing a show. I'm trying to wrap up here, and don't talk to me that way. As Bill Cosby once said, I brought you into this world, I can take you out. Of course, it worked a lot better before all the rapes. Listen, I don't care if you don't live here anymore. I'll send you to your fucking room.
Fuck you!
I am now standing up and taking my headphones off. If you're going to run, you best get started.
Fuck you!
All right, son. All right. What did your third psychiatrist tell us to do? De-escalate. I'm going to go ahead and go over B.L.A.B.S picks. And then we're going to forget this ever happened. I'll put up the revamped Betting Leaderboards Auto Bet System 2.0 card. And even though it hasn't had time enough for dust to settle on it, I may be making a couple final tweaks and then promising to be hands off for at least a month or something and actually gather some data. As usual, we like to begin with our 5 of 5 picks. That's where our prediction guys all like the same fighter. Should be a pretty locked category, but we've been struggling. So we move the restrictions down to minus 199 or better for us to take a wager. And nobody qualified this time around, so we'll move on. Next rule is the 4 of 5 rule. We did have 2 fighters that qualified under this rule. Torres, who won, bringing us a $30.12 profit. And Yair Rodriguez, who did not, and cost us $50. Remember, these were half unit bets per B.L.A.B.S 2.0. Last and very least was Quinones, who was our underdog for the week. 3 out of 5 guys liked him to upset, And he did upset me and remove $100 from my billfold. So it looks like this week for B.L.A.B.S, we went 1-2, bringing our record to 23-17, a 58% winning percentage. We dropped $119.88 off our total for a new total of $11.69. Wolf of Wall Street, watch out, baby. Well, that'll do it for this time around. Hope you enjoyed everything. Please, if you got a second, like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Got to help me fight that algorithm. It's the only way we can get some views and some more folks to join us. So I appreciate any help. And we should be back here shortly to preview the picks for the next card. Usually we're waiting on mma-guru, so whenever he gets them in, I'll get them to you. Till next time, everybody.